Hi, you know me, I don't know you, and I'm upset. I'm pissed, I'm enraged, I feel like a baby being shaken by a small gorilla. I feel like my soul is being sucked out of my body, and not in a good way. My testosterone is unironically boiling and making my pee-pee melt. Hell. I am not happy, okay? That's all you need to know. The Northman released on April 22nd, 2022, and was directed by the remarkable Roger Edgars. Edgars coming off a little-known film. You probably haven't heard of it. It's called The Lighthouse. It has Willem Dafoe farting while Robert Pattinson goes batshit insane. It's great. Show it to the kids. Edgars as a director has become one of the most skilled filmmakers of the last decade, with his cinematic baptism being one of the 2010's best horror films, and his second swing serving as the greatest film of the last decade. Edgars had wanted to make a Viking-themed story ever since he and his wife went to Iceland in 2016, and on paper, the dark aesthetic made sense for his creative style. And when it was announced that Willem Dafoe was joining the apparent star-studded cast, my excitement hit maximum chill. Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Anna Taylor-Joy with DP Jerry and Belansky. It's too big to fail. This excitement turned into pure, unbridled passion as the teaser trailer gave me everything that I wanted in this film. Rage, revenge, a film that has some fucking balls on it with a tone so palpable I could drown in the sea of mania. Everyone seems to adore this film, and I moseyed my way into an IMAX theater thinking that I'm going to see greatness. But similar to King of Vandeville, I was betrayed. Instead of giving me a good time like I hoped, they give me cinematic chlamydia, and that shit stinks, you know? What exactly makes a bad movie? Well, for starters, Nicole Kidman being in it, but I would say a lack of visual storytelling, which this film thankfully doesn't lack. Jerry and Belansky returns with Edgars for their third film together, and the quality of their joint efforts hasn't waned. The Northman cinematography is breathtaking. This statement has been oversaid, but every frame of this film is like a painting. I never felt like there was a second of this film that didn't give any new information and waste its audience's time with the visuals. For example, from this one still, we are given so much information about Amalith. We can tell that he's been through hell and back, and he's not the same boy as he once was. The close-up conveying Amalith's determination complements Skarsgård's amazing performance. The shot composition does a better job at characterizing him than the script. The dirty color grading with its dark lighting creates a cutthroat tone that is consistent throughout its 137-minute runtime. This is a Robert Edgars film, as it utilizes his known directorial traits of concise framing and an atmosphere so overwhelming you can choke on it, but on a much larger scale. The siege in the beginning of the film is a great example of how it immerses us, as the camera does a long take to draw us into the violence, and the way it's staged gives off a feeling of routine. They round up everyone easily to be slaughtered, and we watch for 4 minutes uncut in morbid curiosity. The extras in the background run and scream and interact with what's happening, making the film feel even more authentic. Most films wouldn't care enough to explore their world like the Northman does. We view every minute detail of this well-crafted film. I can't give all the credit to Edgars and Belansky, as production designer Craig Lathrop did a fantastic job. Now, I'm not an expert on Norse culture or anything. I'm not a traitor to my country, but I have seen 2 inches of snow before with my mama, and I've dual-wielded kitchen knives. So if anyone's got the qualifications to talk about the Norse, it should be me. As you can see on scene 14, the Viking dude is standing on dirt. It is a commonly held theory that soil exists on Earth, so right off the bat, we are good. Though Vikings did not have inverted men at the time, or as it is known in the modern world, the female. Female still had 200 more years until creation, and I don't know how this blatant error made it through. Do better, Edgars. Do better. Now that I've expertly proven the film's faithfulness, let's talk about its quality. Production design in this movie, besides the cinematography, is the best aspect of this film. The set pieces vary in terms of size, but their tactile feel stays consistent. Real sets were made in the production of this film, and its lack of artificiality goes well with the tone. The film's authenticity trickles down to the practical effects, which are abundant. Given the subject matter of the film's story and how drab it is, it's fair to presume there will be lots of blood, and you would be correct. This is a violent revenge tale, and it doesn't restrain itself with how far it will push the R rating. People get their heads chopped off, their torso stabbed, and fake blood oozes from their wounds. And this fake blood is so good that I'm concerned Edgars didn't just rob a morgue for this movie. This isn't to say that the visual effects are lacking either, as they're more than abundant. Supernatural scenes occur sporadically, and in multiple instances, the main character, Amalith, is given visions of a spiritual world. Since we don't live in fucking Harry Potter land, I'm going to assume this was done on a computer, later, but if this was done practically, don't tell me. I'm fine with my ignorance. I already think Edgar's is a grave robber. I don't need him being a wizard too. That's just terrifying to think about. These scenes have a ton of visual effects that are well integrated, though in some instances they are jarring. In the aforementioned vision scenes, they don't necessarily come out of nowhere in terms of plot, but the precedent of the world has been set that this world is all natural when it comes to the filmmaking, and this deviation from the norm could bring you out of the movie. You know what can bring you out of a movie? A shit script, manipulative music, and okay acting. That's what. Possibly you've noticed I've been very fixated on the visual side of this film, and it's for a good reason. I do not like anything to do with the writing in this film at all. The characters and story, based on my assessment, is average most of the time and poodoo in the others. The plot's main vehicle for bullshit is named Amalith, who is played by Alexander Skarsgård. Amalith is of royal descent, and his father, King Vanderbilt, played by Ethan Hawke, intends to prepare his son to take the throne from him when he returns from his journey. Amalith waits with his mother, Queen Gudrun, portrayed by Nicole Kidman, and his totally not evil Uncle Fjordur, played by Klaus Bang, for his father to arrive. Vanderbilt has been gone for many moons, conquering lands and taking names, making himself one of the first Sigma males to ever Sigma. He throws himself a party, and a court jester by the name of Heimerdinger, played by Willem Dafoe, causes a scene in the hall. Jokes are said, Fjordur gets pissed, Vanderbilt's like, what the fuck, why are you getting mad at a comedian? He's just doing his job. Shit got wild. Everyone simmered down, and later that night they did some DMT with Willem de Rogan and they tripped balls. Next morning, father and son are ambushed by unknown assassins, and King Vanderbilt is mercilessly killed while Amalith watches. Who slayed the former ruler? Well, that, my dear viewers, is the first question in the brand new game show segment on these reviews. We're going to need something to spice up these videos so we can dethrone Hassan as the #1 most overrated channel on this platform.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it.
Alright, question 1. Who killed King Vanderbilt? Is it A, Fjordur, B, Scar from the Lion King, C, John Ossoff, or D, Brother Claudius? If you chose anything other than A, seek clinical help. Unsurprisingly, Fjordur killed Vanderbilt and then proceeded to take the newly widowed queen as his own and the kingdom with it. Amalith, however, survived the attack and vowed to one day come back and kill Fjordur as he escapes on a boat. Fast forward an unspecified amount of years and Amalith is now buff as hell. Oh, daddy likes. I'll come out the closet for you. He was apparently taken in by some Vikings off screen and raised to be a berserker. On a random raid on a small village, Amalith is given some exposition by a seamstress about the whereabouts of his father's murderer. He's told of a prophecy that requires him to gain a magical sword in order to defeat his uncle. This call to adventure is accepted, and he stows away on a slave boat where he meets Olga, played by Anna Taylor-Joy, who has been kidnapped. They land on the shore and muck around for a bit until Amalith finds an old cave where an old ally appears. Remember when I mentioned how I was so enthused about Willem Dafoe's involvement in this movie? Well, fuck that, I guess, because he's dead. Damn, just kick me in the nuts and spit on my grave, why don't you? Amalith learns the location of the sword that is needed to kill Fjordur, and the plot kicks off from there. Alexander Skarsgård is in the starring role and is the standout of the cast. I'm not familiar with any of his previous work, but if his performance in this film is any indication of his talent, then I have some homework to do. Skarsgård's performance is very good, and he's doing the best with what he's given. Because of how the script was crafted, he is limited in his emotional range, yet he is still able to act. Skarsgård's stoic, almost to a fault personality is fascinating to witness, but besides one scene, and I will admit it was greatly acted on his part, I never had the impression that there was anything under the hood with him. There was never any life behind the cold demeanor, and when the film tries to have emotional moments, it mostly fails. For instance, when he interacts with Anna Taylor-Joy's character, there is no romantic chemistry. Both of them talk as if it were a business transaction, and when they act all ooey gooey with each other in the second half, I was very much perplexed. Skarsgård is at his best when he's yelling at the top of his lungs or plotting the death of others, but his scene with his fictional mother did hint at the potential of greatness that could have been. Still, a 7 out of 10 performance is better than a 2 in my eyes. Nicole Kidman in this film, and in most, is frankly subpar. I have no idea as to why the former wife of the Antichrist was casted here. Every scene in this film, she looks bored out of her mind and does not have the slightest ounce of emotion. In her most important scene, that being when Gudrun and Amalith meet with one another, her tone of voice only slightly changes and her face stays in the same indifferent appearance. The only instance of her showing any, and I mean any emotion, is when when she starts acting like a D-list Joker, and if I wanted to watch that, I'd watch Ben Shapiro. This pattern of tediousness repeats itself in many scenes, and it becomes very tiresome. Her casting in this film is bizarre, and I've personally never found Nicole Kidman to be a particularly good actress. I think it'd be best if she just stuck to the AMC ads. At least she looks somewhat enthused there. An actress that I will say is somewhat decent is Anna Taylor-Joy. Anna worked with Edgars on his first film, and in The Northman, she is whatever, man. There's nothing incredibly noteworthy about her performance. She's mainly relegated to love interest of Amalith and plays more of an archetype than a character. She does what she has to. When Olga looks sad, she looks sad. When Olga looks conflicted, she looks conflicted, but it's the bare minimum. It's a sorry case as well, because Anna has proven that she is a phenomenal actress who has become a heavyweight in her own regard. But alas, it was not meant to be. Ethan Hawke is briefly in this film, and I say briefly because he isn't in the film for more than 20 minutes. When he is on screen, he steals the show, and I need to stop talking about this because I'm getting suicidal because of the wasted potential. When I do it, don't call the cops, call the Arby's. They'll know what to do. Okay, let's see who else is on the list before we talk about the literary desecration that is the script. Alright. Who the fuck are you? Klaus Bang? Sounds Danish. I love him. Let's French each other. Until this very moment, I did not know about Klaus's existence, but I wish I knew sooner. He gives a very good performance and is the performer who has the most emotional moments in this film. When a loved one of his dies, we watch as he mourns, and for a fraction of a second, we forget that he's the villain. This, as well as his barbaric tendencies and his ability to convey rage with just his eyes, is so good that he's given Skarsgård a run for his money. However, similar to Anna Taylor-Joy, his character doesn't have much depth, and this limits him as an actor, which is one of the main issues I take with this film. The film's writing in the first half is incredibly plot-driven and won't allow the characters time to develop properly. In the span of 20 minutes, we are only allowed 4 scenes with King of Vanderbilt to establish his relationship with Amalith before he is murdered, and we get to see one astonishingly generic setup for Fjornar's villainy. This pacing flaw continues up until Amalith completes the main quest of acquiring the magical sword, and then the film changes gears from a concise no bullshit story to Amalith not doing what he set out to accomplish, and the film is just wasting time. We were on a very narrow path in terms of plot, and when it deviated, they never justified the decision. Amalith at any moment could murder Fjornar, but holds back because of some prophecy. You're telling me he has no free will of his own and he just has to abide by it? He just passively accepts it, and that's inconsistent with his character because he's shown as a vengeful wraith that wants to avenge his father. What the fuck? Also, in the latter half of the film, he planned on just leaving with Olga, and I'm so confused as to what this man believes in. Do you or do you not care about your father? He would have just left if he didn't get a vision of his unborn babies that Olga is carrying. And his reasoning doesn't make sense either. He says Fjornar will hunt us down and scour the earth for us, but that's not true at all. How would a man whom we know has very little resources because he's been literally exiled find you people in 1895 AD? Wait. Also, call me Aunt Jemima. But did he just say he intends to kill Fjornar at his little colony, not at the volcano? Did he just stop caring about the prophecy altogether? If Amalith thinks he can do that, why not just kill Fjornar when we were an hour into the movie? There are so many logical lapses in judgment and contrivances that I go insane thinking about them. But alright, let's give the movie the benefit of the doubt. Lots of movie plots suck ass, but the characters nearly every time save it. And despite everything that I've hinted at, I think the characters are good.
You serious?
No. Oh no, I'm joking, but thanks for the chuckles. I hate to use a drinker clip, but these characters suck. Amalith is the most consistently one-noted character in this film, but there's a lot of competition. Amalith is given very little emotional depth and characterization and is stagnant throughout. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with a static character, but if this said character isn't put into situations where they're forced to show a different side of themselves, it will feel repetitive. And besides one scene that was honestly well written when it comes to Amalith's character, he never shows any emotion besides anger, naturally. And that's the key word, naturally. Olga's character is supposed to give Amalith some much-needed vulnerability, but when they interact, it's completely unnatural. Take the scene after they escape from Fjornar. All they do is rave about how much they love each other, and it's the definition of telling the audience they're fucking stupid. Hey guys, don't you get it? They love each other. Isn't that cool? Isn't that pog? Please, 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 for the love of God, watch my movie. The way the two of them interact is so shallow, and it's clear that this scene only functions to tell the audience they're in love instead of naturally building it up. Amalith is nothing more than an archetypal stereotype stereotype that has been done better in stories of higher quality. And this lack of depth applies to all the characters on screen. Olga is nothing more than a generic love interest that has no character of her own, nor a believable relationship with Amalith. Gudrun honestly isn't given much characterization and doesn't do much in the story besides being one of the factors that kicked off the plot. Fjordur is the closest to being a good character because of his relationship with his son, although it's most likely Klaus Bang's performance. But after his son dies, he turns into a lunatic that is indistinguishable from Amalith. I'm not gonna sit here and say he shouldn't react this way, it makes sense for his character, but it becomes very dull to only see this side of him when the movie hasn't given much time to fully fleshing him out. When he's on screen, he is acting like how any villain would act. He kills slaves, threatens people, and does the worst thing anyone has possibly done in the history of humanity. No, not that. He watches people play cricket. He's a true, wait, hold on, just a second, right, scallywag! The only praise I have, and it's sort of a backhanded compliment about the writing in this movie, is that it subverts your expectation on where the story's going to go because of how illogical the plot is. I did not expect them to end the movie the way that they did, but I guess it sort of ties into the theme of revenge blinding you and how it will be your downfall. However, I'm not going to give a movie props for having a good theme that wasn't executed very well. Craftsmanship matters, damn it! The Northman is a very aggravating film. It is the definition of a fine script with its illogical inconsistencies and meh characters. If I were scoring this movie based off of plot alone, it's a 2.5 out of 5. However, I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to give the movie a 3 because the film is a visual buffet and the technical elements makes this film watchable. The editing is good. It allows for the cinematography to tell what it needs to without cutting away too soon. The sound design is fine, nothing wrong with it, but since I viewed this in an IMAX theater, it was very loud, and when Amalith is sneaking around, I kept thinking to myself, how the hell do these people not hear him? He once unsheathed his sword, and that shit was so loud, I thought I was listening to Alex Jones with how deafening it was.
Bashing it because I don't like gay people. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay!
A technical element that I am iffy on is the music in this film. Like I said previously, the music is so disingenuous because nothing of substance will happen in the story, but the score will be doing the heavy lifting in the tone department, giving an illusion of quality. For I'd say 95% of the runtime, music is played in the background and it just comes off as a desperate attempt to keep the audience interested instead of punctuating the story beats. The music itself is good and there's no doubt in my mind that care went into crafting the score, but its placement feels deceptive in a way. It is truly disappointing that I don't like this film because Eggers is a remarkable director that needs his voice heard. It could be the fact that this isn't as small scale as his previous work and he needed to make a profit, so he sacrificed story, but I'm not Eggers, so I can't tell you. I went in expecting greatness, but only got mediocrity, and I'm thoroughly disappointed. Almost like The Last Jedi. Okay, adios!